Thank you. What you probably won't do now is you won't see me so much other than my fingers. So what we're going to think about then is how we're going to adapt a really strong lifting facial like skin workout for someone that has got a beard or lots of facial hair. And so the first thing I would say is that the opening stages of your skin workout or your HIIT facial or natural facelift, whichever one you've called it, are still going to be the same. So we'd still do the hand cleanse, we would still mist round, we'd still do our 4 presses, getting him to breathe, and we'd do our range of movement, sorry, bashing him in the face, moving our head side to side. Okay, so that all remains. First thing we then need to think about is what happens at the cleanse. And there's 2 things. We need to think about what products we're going to use in the cleanse and how we're going to move our hands potentially differently. So obviously we've always in Pinks and Proverb started with our oriental circle, but I'm going to show you a little adaptation to that. And then we've got to decide what product. So it says without reason that anything oilier or more gel-like texture will be better on depth of hair. So in our world, obviously the organic world, we really don't use gel or foaming cleansers because of what's inside them, but they are easy on beards, but we wouldn't use them because of what's inside them. So for us, it is always going to be more of a cleansing oil or cleansing balm world here. As soon as you get to things like Proverb has the cleansing mud, that becomes a little bit tricky in this sort of hair because we are going to basically make him look like Santa Claus. And unless you're after the Santa look, it's probably not the win. So I would probably instinctively do my first cleanse with oil or balm. And then the second one, if I do want to keep that cleanse mud, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use cleanse mud up here, but I'm going to stay with oil down here. Because what I don't want to be doing is just fighting, trying to get a cleanser that doesn't want to come out of a beard out. So if I'm going to do the 2, what I could have cleanse mud in one hand, oil or balm in the other hand. And then when I go onto the face for my oriental circle, this one has got the mud, this one has got the oil or balm. But instead of swinging all the way around like I normally do, what I'm going to do is just change it to the pressure down. So I'm putting pressure down through the forehead. My hand is just holding, and then I'm slightly releasing. So as opposed to swinging round like we normally do like this, I'm just going to take it to press and hold, release. Press and hold, release. Press and hold, release. Because then I can press my cleansing oil into the beard, and then I can come and press my cleansing mud onto the skin where I want the mud. So if you find you're ever working with a cleanser that you think, oh, do not want that in the beard, it's totally fine. We just zone the face and do it slightly differently. So I will do my upper 2/3 cleanse. How are you already snoring?
No, I'm breathing. I'm breathing.
Then if you really don't want any of that down in the beard, you may want it on the neck. The neck's quite useful because what the lower neck and décolleté will enable me to do is take off that excess off my hands. So now I don't really have any left on my hands. And I will grab another little bit of cleansing oil and come in to the beard. Okay. So that's how I'm going to adapt my cleanses. I'm going to decide if I've in fact got two different products, and I'm not going to mix those together. I'm going to change my oriental circles to presses and release, and then I'm going to work in a 2/3 pattern and a third pattern. Then we need to think about getting it off. And I also, during my first cleanse, it is a good moment to discuss with them the comfort of their beard. So what I have noticed over the years of doing lots of facials on men is that some men think that it's pulling when you pull through a beard and register that as not comfortable. And some don't seem to notice at all anything. And it's often really related to how long it is. So actually at Luke's sort of length here, it's pretty good. It's pretty malleable. Like he doesn't really feel me moving that hair too much in the wrong direction. Often with a shorter stubble, it can feel worse. But what I would do before you lose them and they go to sleep, I would speak to them while you're in it and say, right, I just want you to feel this is me pressing down and this is me lifting up. How do they feel? Is there any discomfort? Because if someone says there's no discomfort at all, then maybe you don't need to worry about adapting anything very much. I will still learn what we're going to, because I still think having those different techniques is useful. But do ask them, because they will be slightly different. Okay, we need some mitts. Off to the hot cabbie with Kirsty. Oh, I got myself a hot stone too. Okay, so I would definitely recommend hot mitts with beards. Think of yourself as a barber from now on. Because if we can put warm compressing onto the beard, it helps open those hair follicles slightly. It makes it easier for us to clean around the beard. So check the heat of them when they're ready to go. You're normally in a proverb treatment, I would start like this and do our oriental circles again, same in a pinks, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go straight to the beard with my hot compressors. And I'll just take this off so you can see I'm literally just holding, doing a little bit of a gentle pinch, trying to get that heat into the beard, because we should make this a beard treatment as well, because the other problem we have is 1/3 of his face is hiding under this hair. We can't miss 1/3 of his skin. We've got to actually do something. So we may well have to add this in as a little bit of a beard treatment element. So I will run my thumb, I'll show you with no mitt so I can see, I will run my thumb down through the hair. But obviously in a skin workout world, we want everything truthfully to be going in the other direction. So pretending I still had a mitt on, what I will do is I will start to just do a lift. But watch what I'm doing. I'm like stretching up, holding it, releasing it, stretching up, holding it, releasing it. So what you're always concentrating on is the muscle, not the hair. Because if I can move the muscle up and hold and stretch, or the skin and release, then I'm not actually pulling his hair. So I'll do that with my gloves on. So I'm holding, release, holding, release, holding, release. And then I'll go and get the rest of my cleanser off. So we want to keep mitts We want to really focus them when they're at their hottest into the beard to get that warm compress. And we want to do squeezing lifts, and we're starting to lift up. Because also we're presuming if they have this beard, that they're probably quite happy to think of the idea of having a really strong jawline as well. So as a male client coming for a skin workout, a natural facelift style treatment, red carpet, for them, a jawline is a really, really important thing. So we want to make sure that actually, as opposed to trying to avoid this area because we're scared of it, that we actually really make a big deal of this area, because we don't want to miss this skin out. And we also want to leave him with a really nice, tight, structured jawline. Now, in the specific treatment we do for skin workout, HIIT, and natural facelift, there is also a cleanse that has a snake, a hot snake. So I just want to deal with the hot snake. So pretend that you've done another cleanse, and then you are ready with your hot snake towel. This is your long kind of gym size face towel. Still as normal, hook it around their chin and do the pull back stretch. And still as normal, do your barbering moment of bringing it fully over everywhere, just leaving his nose out and pressing it down onto his face. So that's exactly as we'd normally do. Okay. The time it slightly changes is now. What we would do now is shorten our rope a little bit, and we would start to do pulls up the side on a female skin with no hair. But what you possibly don't want to do is run all the way from the jawline up to the temple with this. So on the beard, change it and just hold and press that on. And then when you get to the free skin, then you can go back to doing your normal holds. Remember, those of you who I haven't seen recently, when we were learning the snake, I've added in an extra little bit on the forehead, where as opposed to just pulling the forehead, when you're here, really pull your hands down to the bed, like you're trying to squash their forehead into the bed. Feels beautiful. And then slowly, slowly pull it back. So we've done the first pull as normal, we've done the barber cover as normal, and then we've changed a little bit, and we're not doing the full pulls up from the jawline. We can come and lift up the neck before we get to the hair. But when we get to the hair, we're just going to slide and hold over the hair. Same on this side. And then we can go back to normal, full lifting on the skin area. So those are our adaptations if you are using what I call the hot snake. Okay. We then get to exfoliant. Beards and exfoliant, not friends. If you've got a shower, fine. Without it, it's not. So my general rule will just be to try and keep the exfoliators out of the beard. Even if, say for instance, in a Pink's Boutique world, we've got balmy, beautiful scrubs, but those little bits of the rosehip kernel or the bamboo pieces will still realistically probably still stay hidden in the beard, and we don't want to hide them in the beard. So my game plan normally is to not exfoliate with a physical exfoliant here at all. We're going to change it and use a muslin cloth exfoliant in here and use the rest of the exfoliant everywhere else. So you would take your exfoliator, I would raindrop tip tap it on to the skin area and circle the exfoliator on. but I'm not going in here. You can do down here with the skin. And when I come to remove it, I would definitely make sure that I had a muslin cloth as part of the removal, because what I want to do, muslin cloths, the reason they are so lovely is that they are natural exfoliators themselves. And so we want to use that to be the exfoliator in the beard. And what I'll often do is like actually just put my finger into it, like wrap it around in my finger, support the skin with my other hand, and I will go in and I will do little circles. Because I'm stretching out the skin and providing that tautness, it's a bit like when you do waxing, the hair pulling doesn't hurt as much because you're providing support. Now, your other option in here, depending on the brands that you are working with, could be that you use a chemical exfoliant in there instead. So if you had anything in your ranges that had an AHA, like a liquid AHA, you could maybe go in with one of those instead. Or you can go in I would then obviously take the rest of the scrub off as well. And in that skin workout facial, we just use this to do a little pull and a little pull. So I basically suggest this is off limits to physical exfoliants. You could have chemical exfoliants potentially, or you can go in with manual muslin exfoliants, which does feel actually strangely nice because again, it feels like someone's really trying to concentrate to get to the bottom of a hairy area that really is normally just left and nothing particularly done for it. So again, it's kind of made it its own special zone. You can see our theme here. We're kind of trying to make the beard a hero as opposed to the villain in this story. Scrub exfoliant would all be off. It's then time for us to massage. Now, obviously putting massage oils into here is perfect. It will be trying to soften the skin and also soften the hair. So you can put all your massage oils into there. What I'm going to do is in the manual I send you, I'm going to follow through our skin workout natural facelift routine, but I'm only going to do the movements that the beard impacts. So for instance, just to make sure you're following what I mean, is the massage routine, if we're doing Kirsty skin workout, starts with shoulder pushes. It starts with taking the head to the side and doing big circuits around the trapezius. We then go and do clock arms, a tricep triangle. I'm not going to do those in order because clearly the beard has zero impact on those whatsoever. We will still do all of those movements. So I'm just going to go in the exact order, but only do the movements that need potentially thinking about or changing. So the first one we have that might become an issue is our steam roller. So remember the steam roller, after you've done your clocks and your trapezius circuits, is coming from here, and I am lifting up and through the beard like this. Okay. Now, I can tell on Luke's that actually I don't think that's uncomfortable in his hair. But what I'm going to show you is in case it was, what we would do is you could still come and lift through the neck. But when we then get to this area of hair, I'm going to rely on my stretch and lift. So basically, I am going to lift the skin and hold it in place. And then I can go above it onto the fresh skin. So what we're basically doing is we're not sliding. So we can do a facelift element by essentially lifting and holding, lifting and holding. If in doubt, that is what you swap. So you swap a full sweep for a much more stationary, but still giving a big lift, hold. Because I'm still getting the direction and the movement that I want. Basically, you swap sliding to being stationary. Okay. So that's our first one to think about. Overall, what you're thinking about always when you're massaging a beard is that you want to avoid anything that causes too much friction. We don't want to be putting friction in. We want slow compressions, slow lifts, slow stretches. The other things that work really well are pinches. So pinches work. Little tapping movements work quite well. And obviously everything in terms of the cheek, the nasal folds, all of this can just be done like normal. Okay, so what's our next movement we need to think about? So the next time we really come into play with a neck are the neck hugs and rectangles. So I'll show you how they are meant to be. So the neck hug is where we're doing the big sweeping alternate hands coming to one side of the neck, then to the other. Okay. Now, if we felt that we couldn't do those because of the hair, I'd go in a two-part. So I would sweep up the skin, then I would clamp my hand on the beard and do one stretch and lift. So the skin has been swept, but then we just stretch and lift. We go for that stationary stretch and lift. Sweep, stationary stretch and lift. Our next movement would be a neck rectangle. So in our routine, I'll show you what we do normally. We draw a sweeping line down that mandible. Then we come down the sternocleidomastoid, and then we have no pressure whatsoever, and we come up and in. So that's what we're doing on all the non-bearded folk. If we need to adapt to the beard, then what we could do is instead of sweeping, we could just turn this into strong pinches, but the lifting should be coming upwards. So strong lift pinches gets us still to that sternocleidomastoid. We slide in and little pressure up. So we swap the slide for a lifting pinch. All the work we have to do on the scalenes and the SEM and around the hairline and trigger points, that's obviously all completely fine because that's all on hair-free skin. We then end up with some pinches on the mandible, which we're completely fine to do, as we just said. So pinches work really well with a beard. So you can do single-handed ones, you could do double-handed, but always just making sure that you're trying to lift upwards. Luke will be in trouble. He's gone for his spa treatment without switching off his phone. Very illegal behavior. The next one that could be an interesting one with hair is your jawline whipping. Okay, so that is definitely going to cause some friction in the hair. So it's one that I would suggest that we do swap. Now you can either just literally take it out, or you can swap it to some repeated quick lifts. So making it a stationary. Can we make that lifting? I would do it with 2 hands, but I don't want to block the camera for you. Can we do it so that we're getting stationary lifting, not pulling through the hair, so that my fingers are still going like that, but they're lifting the skin, holding it, dropping it down, lift up, hold, drop down. So that one we take out because it is going to feel weird on stubble or hair. When we then come on to the cheek, half of our cheek's completely fine. Half of our cheek has got hair cover. So we would normally start with some big swirling effleurages and big circles. Just make sure, and I would still do these, but what might happen normally is you're doing quite surface. Beards are good for us because they make us stop being surface. We cannot be surface. We shouldn't be being surface on a female face. We should be thinking about the muscle. So can you just do them still, but thinking a little bit more about lifting that muscle so that you're not just randomly sliding over the hair? Circles, I would keep, but what you will find on my circle is that my fingers are not really lifting off. I'm staying in contact, so I'm not pulling through that hair. And if I do lift off, I'll just literally replace myself somewhere else and circle up. Again, I'll lift off, I'll replace myself in a different position. I don't hear any hair moving. If you can hear the hair moving, that is not good. See, he didn't like that. He moved away. So you do not want to hear hair rustling. So what can you make your fingers do, and how can you get them to lock into those muscles? That means they're not pulling that hair around. Diamonds, we would normally be sliding those fingers up. That is, again, too slidey coming through that hair. Can we just do it as a stationary movement? So my 2 fingers don't actually leave the skin. They're just still coming up as much as, I'll show you one-handed so you can see. They're coming up as much as they can. I'm not allowing this finger to slide, basically. It's still doing its job, bringing the lower skin up, but it's not allowed to slide. Your caterpillars and pianos are really still good in beards because you can be quite specific with that one finger and not allowing the sliding. It's just dipping into that muscle and lifting. What's that?
Nice.
When we then come to the cryo tools, things to think about in beards, it is going to take a lot longer to feel the cold through this beard. So whereas on a woman, we might quickly run through, we might want to actually purposely hold for a little bit longer before we start to move off. And I would definitely, when these are really icy cold, starting in a beard is a good place because obviously they have that natural protection there already. So when we've learned to use these before, we've definitely used them as ice cream scoops, sliding and then turning. What I would do on a beard is I would reduce my ice cream scooping motion and turn it more to just lifting up and hold. Lifting up and hold, lifting up and hold, lifting up and hold. Does it feel colder there?
Yeah.
It's like two temperature zones on your face, where the hair is versus where the hair isn't. And the same with your gua sha. You can still use them in the bearded area. They're just not going to feel the temperature. So I personally think that if you're trying to get through a beard, these will be better than a gua sha stone, because the gua sha, yes, you will get the pressure from the edges. So if you do what specifically want the pressure from the edges, but in terms of the cold, you're not going to feel it anywhere near as much as you would with one of these. So I would go for the kind of bigger cryo ball to lift. Now, thinking of the next set of movements that our beard is still in the way would be where we do our lip skips. So normally you'll be doing this, lifting through the two smile lines, but I can really hear the hair moving when I do that, which gives me an idea that it's possibly not that nice for him. So what I'm going to do is just still take the lift, but keep it stationary and hold it. So still take the lift, but no sliding, stationary and hold it. And then I can obviously, if I want to go into that nasal fold, I can be doing more sliding there, but here I can't. Lovely thing for him is you're not going to see his smile lines anyway. They are covered until he decides that this beard is coming up. And then the other movement, and really the last movement in our skin workout natural facelift that is a challenge with a beard, is the masseter double lifting, where we're meant to be like a cross trainer and we're pulling all the way through and up. That is going, it's basically a face brace. That is not going to be necessarily comfortable. So that was a no. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to like a pyramid shape lift, and then I will smooth up the skin. So a pyramid lift and smooth just on the skin. So my pyramid is still pulling. I am still getting a little lift and a pull through. You could come up the neck, pyramid the beard, pull back. So we have to swap to be a heel-based pyramid, and then back to normal when we can get to the skin. Okay. I would possibly quite naturally as well add in more ears because I always feel like there's been less skin attachment here when you're working on a man. I feel naturally that I go more here. So because they haven't had quite as much direct skin to skin contact in that third of the face, I would really make sure that you come around this cervical lymph node area, include in and around the ears as well. And do that in all the stages with cleansing too, because there's a very general stereotypical rule as well. Like often I found that male clients tend to have slightly more like grime, sebum round behind the ears, whether that's just natural or whether it's because they don't wash as much around their face and ears. Your massage would be done. Next things would be mask. So what are we going to do with this beard? It really depends on the type of masks that you have. You don't want anything that's going to get stuck in there. Clays, like gels, anything that's going to get tangled or lost in there, they're just going to be hard to remove. So a bit like the exfoliator, I would tend to go mask here to here, mask from here to here, leave this out of my masks, but then think about, is there anything else I can put in the beard while the mask is on the rest of the skin that can also be doing something nice? It could even be, like, for instance, if we've got that really lovely reishi shiitake toner, it could be filling the beard with that toner and hyaluronic acid. Or it could be that you have a nice calming serum or something that you want to put in there. But I would keep your life more simple, keep the masks on the skins, and do anything that you know will go in easily that you don't have to remove from the beard. When you then take the mask off, that will be easy because it's not stuck, nothing stuck in there. And you will be getting to toner stages. Now, what you don't want in a toner on a male beard facial is you don't want cotton wool. I would just do away with all cotton wool because otherwise we're back to Santa Claus again. So with your toners, make sure that one, it's going to be a cool mist, that you can put it on by misting it. But then the other way of making sure you've got a good amount in your hand and then really placing it in and onto the face. And you can work it into that beard. And then it's time to do your finishing layers, so your serums and your moisturizers. And you will always have options. Most of them will go happily over hair. But do you want to just go serums and moisturizers on skin and put a specific beard product that you might have? So some of you might have beard conditioners. In our world, really in most spa brands, anything that is a beautiful, nourishing oil, so something like Elite Superfood, or in a Pink's Boutique world, like anti-age serum or ultra calming, will all work really nicely as beard conditioning treatments. So you could decide that you want to put a specific oil in the beard. Again, like I said, making it a kind of little hero zone that gets slightly different treatment, or you could bring your normal moisturizers over. We just know that obviously oil is easier to get in. Totally going to depend on his skin type though, because if this was a beard that was really suffering with skin underneath it and the being more spotty underneath it, which isn't that common particularly, but you might not want to be putting lots more oil in there. You might want to be going with the toner and leaving it, or putting in something that's more specific to treating spots. And then we would finish completely as normal. So we would go muscles over onto the shoulders. We would do our breathing. We do his ROM stretching and finishing.